Hi, my dear ones. I just wanted to get a few minutes and have some conversation with my friends. You know, sometimes it's a long haul down the road to Wellville, and sometimes it's not. And, always have to realize that balance is key, and not everything's perfect under the sun in one way of looking at it, but in another way of working at it, it is. It's always our unawareness that's the problem, not life itself. And if you look at this, some people come in with different problems and stuff, or they blame. I know one lad Belly had some serious complications with kelp or something like this, and excuse me, still detoxifying myself. Did you realize your bodies are the problems? It's not about the foods, and it's not about the herbs and all that other kind of stuff, because you can argue different points about how you get well. But there's only one road to Wellville that every animal, every man, every person has to walk down. And that is, you eat the foods designed for your species, and we can argue that, but there's very slim argument for vegetable eating in a human, and of course, even slimmer as a meat eating in a human, very slim argument with that. Matter of fact, if I sat down and listed all the pros and cons, the cons are extreme. So you just have to realize that a living food diet is always key to all creatures. Man, in his survival needs of the northern climates, obviously got into canning, cooking, drying, dehydrating, blah, 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 blah. But anytime you take a living food and do anything to it, you reduce its effectiveness. And man, of course, doesn't understand how you raise fruit properly. So those that have the longevities from these type of diets and those that show the least amount of problems has always been your older islanders. Seen so many of them through all these years. And I've seen so many people from all around the world and what they fight genetically and ethically and everything else. And it's just that if you go back to your physiology, your proper physiology, a fruitarian way of life is key. Now, can you have green drinks? Absolutely. Can you have a salad? Absolutely. I don't care. Finding your balance when you come off of detoxification, but I promote detoxification as the way to Wellville. There is simply no other method on this planet to Wellville. So you have to realize that this whole concept of diseases and treating diseases with deadly pharmaceuticals and stuff, these are all for the negative evil ones, so to speak. And I don't want to put that in everybody practice that's evil ones and stuff, but that is on the negative side of life, not on the positive side of life. Pharmaceutical use is not on the positive side of life. Now, with that said, there are essential pharmaceuticals. There are essential pharmaceuticals in today's world. In the future, man learns the truth more, and you guys help him, you won't have needs for pharmaceuticals. That's not going to make a bunch of wealthy people happy. But you can't keep healing people under some facade that it's for the good of the whole because this drug might help you. If you listen to them real careful, they're real careful to tell you that this drug might help you, but you do have a risk. They don't tell you the percentage of your risk, but you have a percentage of risk of either a fatal event or something that leads to a fatal event like blood clots and strokes and heart attacks, that which Cipro, antibiotic, causes a lot. So we just live in a world that's very, very bad right now. In certain ways, we can use that word, but it's gone pretty fast to the negative side. And now, this is why all you beautiful souls that are out there working your ways to Wellville, getting your health back, it's just beautiful to see that. And it's essential. It's essential for your own survival. If no one was in the room listening but just you and me, this is for you and your survival beyond this planet even. So you want to survive feeling the best you can and as healthy as you can. Granted, some people have to work through a lot of genetic weaknesses and heavy lymph problems, but man still thinks milk's good for you. I don't Not the people that raise dairy cows and serve it. A lot of those guys already know. I had an old Amish farmer once, dairy farmer. I'm giving a lecture up in Shipshewana, Indiana, and I'm talking about how bad milk is, knowing that half the room was dairy farmers. And this old guy came up with me and his wife and his family of 13 and said to me, "Son, we know it's the milk." And my next statement was, "Why the hell do you drink it then?" You know, you just got to get away from these sort of this sort of chemistry, because I don't dare call it a food. So just realize there's certain foods that are in harmony with the human body and some that are totally not. When you leave the realm of fruits, berries, and melons and vegetables, there's not much out there that's worth crap. Beans, dried dead beans with enzyme inhibitors and phytic acids, and we can let them soak for a while, or we can germinate them and turn them into a vegetable. See what I'm saying? So it really, when you look at grains and beans and dead animals and their milks and all this crap, there's nothing there for humans, and there's nothing there healthy whatsoever. Now that you all know that the more milk you drink, the more prone to fractures you are, well, how does that drive down the road of milk drinkers? We've known that. Didn't need the study. We've already known that for years. The people that drink the most milk have the most calcium-related problems. You'll find your answer to that in chemistry and what happens to calcium and phosphorus and the like when you ultra-pasteurize it. The reason I really wanted to sit down with you, however, though, is the Facebook site. We wanted to talk about that because Marco and some of you guys, you've just been major troopers running a site like this and helping people. You're always going to have those that accuse you of something. Man just has to have, and that's why I'm a recluse. I deal with humans so much, but tell you the truth, animals and plants are far easier to deal with than some humans. And we just get so sick and opinionated, and we get hurting so bad that it warps us. And then they put us on pharmaceuticals like antidepressants and anti-anxiety meds, which warp us even more. And this mess has to be cleaned up. And so there's wind that the FDA is watching the site and all this crap. The FDA is just full of criminals and big burly guys that they hired to raid people with their big guns and tools against innocent humans. You know, this is all kind of flipped back hard on them. They violated First Amendment rights here in America so bad that they really have never had anybody challenge them like we're going to be. Nothing has ever hit them at this level that's coming, and you're going to see it. But I want you to start gaining your evidence. Everything, anybody's been hurt by the FDA in any way, been hurt by their directions, by pharmaceuticals, you've lost loved ones, we want testimonials because we're going to ram so much up the butt of the FDA, they're not even going to be able to give a little smile out. Because this is enough. This is enough. We've had it, and it's enough. So, what they're doing is wanting to move away from a public forum like that to a private site like Move Your Limb, things like this. This is nothing more. You guys have never had to worry about the FDA raiding you, the state coming in, blaming you for practicing medicine or naturopathy without a license, crap like that. They would love, remember, the negative forces would love to stop the God people. They'd love it. And these people don't realize they're being a channel for the negative forces. You have to realize, I realize that. But there's a time where unconsciousness must become conscious, and this is the time. Because if we let them go any further, it's just like America. If we let Obama and all the other people in, there's no more Constitution, there's no more America. You see how that's turning now? Now you have the strong, young Tea Partiers like myself who know more about the Constitution and who's been violating it and what's going to happen. So the positive God force is coming in here. And it's thanks to people like you and those that channel love and being positive and helping others. Because this world has had enough of cold, had enough of a lack of love, had enough of hate and anger. We've had enough of that. And only we, the people, can turn it around. You can't expect entities like governments who feed upon negative energies to fester that. They don't do that. They don't know how to turn the people around and teach them about love and respect of each other. That requires a spiritual government. And that just is not seen yet at this level. So we need to do more of that sort of thinking. But the only reason we're having trouble is that everybody feels that these sites are being watched by them. The whole thing is simple. We don't treat diseases. Man has to learn that this is an illusionary concept perpetrated on purpose by the allopathic community. They get to treat all these diseases with pharmaceuticals. And if you do, you're practicing medicine without a license. Don't practice medicine without a license because you don't want to practice medicine. If you practice medicine, you'll fall into the killers. There's nothing more to say about the use of pharmaceuticals and the massive kill ratio that it offers them. So if you're sitting there thinking you're doing something wrong by teaching people how to get healthy, don't. Grab your power back. You don't let the FDA scare you. These are a bunch of goons. They're bought and paid for. They're promoting the use of toxic, deadly chemicals on one side and thinking they're protecting people from the Ebola on another. That's bull crap. There's been plenty of whistleblowers, and we have a couple of them. It ought to be real fun to have the FDA in the court of law with these guys. Real fun. We're going to have some fun. So we're building. But we also want to keep you guys safe. So that's why we're trying to expand the club into the lymphs. MoveYourLymph.net or org or com. It's a sad thing, but you want to know some of my stressors? I've been living with this for 40-some years now. I've been living with multitude of stressors. And how sad is it that you're in God's worlds where a part of itself has gotten so negative that it gets mad and tries to shut you down when you help another. And now they want to control raw coconut milk. See, what they don't understand, like even with the raw coconut waters and stuff, they're antibiotic rich. Natural foods get rid of parasites. You can go on a raw food diet, and if you got worms, it'll pull them right out of you. Of course, they'll be alive, not like the herbs that kill them. So it's enough to say that we're just trying to protect everyone, but you can protect yourself by simply realizing that diseases, we don't deal with them. When you have a symptom, we can talk about it, or you've been diagnosed with it, but look beyond that diagnosis to what's really going on. The body's just a bunch of cells and two major fluids. These guys can't stand simplicity because truth is found at that doorway. And we need them to wake up with truth. These guys have gotten so narcissistic that they're way above everybody else. This is not true. These guys are the most trapped. And they're creating karma against themselves. So I just want to tell you, medical doctors, get out of that field into a healthy field where you can burn off this bad karma, and because you're going to have to pay for all of this. I'm going to have to pay for everything. You are going to have to pay for everything. So what are you paying for? Do you create good, love, and harmony? Do you want that back? Or do you want back the way you're given? The FDA is just going to get back what it's given. The medical doctors are just going to get back what they're given. You know, this is cause and effect. That's physics rules. So it's enough to say, don't get upset with Marco and some of these guys. They're loving beings. They're trying to help. There's no agenda here. I don't have an agenda. You don't see pop-ups on my site like others that you all know. I could sell pop-ups and make good money. I don't choose that because this isn't, I'm not a capitalist. Money isn't the issue. Tell your next, your spiritual guide that I'm about the money, man. Forget that. That's nonsense. Money will come to you, but that can't be your focus. Your focus needs to be love and helping others and raising the awareness of people up. Because there's still people fighting over raw foods. People are going on raw foods and their friends are beating them up on going on raw foods. And you have some lady telling a judge that raw foods are bad for you. This soul is so lost in the world of darkness. Who knows how long it'll take them to work themselves out. When you tell anyone that it's worse on you if you go on raw foods, these guys are delusional. Maybe have Alzheimer's, maybe. because you can't prove that in physics or chemistry, that you improve the nutritional content of a food by cooking it. Quite the opposite. We can prove how we can change the nature so bad that it's part of the matrix of hurting us. We have lifetimes of chemistry studies of foods. These guys are barking up the wrong tree. But we can't be treating diseases either. And you don't want to be. They tried to get me for that many times. It's like bark up another tree. Because we're out to tell the public and teach the public that that's an illusionary concept that was created by you, and then you suck all the freedoms and all the First Amendment rights out of people. No, don't think so. You know, people have got to stand up to these jokers. Even if they do raid you, stand up. We've got attorneys, we got all kinds of help, and we're already planning on a big one. You can just plan on it. These kind of consciousness don't overcome things. They can't see outside of themselves. These are constipated people. So it takes a real big smack sometimes up against their head to stop them. And I don't know, that's what they like to do to us. You can't Gandhi someone like the FDA. Doesn't work. And it's not time for Gandhi anymore. Not right now. Things drastically have to change because it's sucking in again. And we got to pull it into halfway balance so it can end. You'll see, as the things start changing, you'll see what I'm talking about. But, excuse me, it's always a pleasure to talk with you guys. But get your power, get your strength. We're here as a team. You're not alone. You've got me, you've got all the spiritual guides out there, you've got all kinds of help. So you're not alone. And don't feel intimidated. You know, it's like a wild animal. When they smell fear and intimidation, they go after you. They're the ones that needs to be intimidated because we're coming. And when that day comes, they're not going to believe the storm that's hit. There's no more of this crooked crap. You know, we're going to stand our ground. And that's the name of the game. Man has not stood his ground, elected these people, put them in power, and then let them go back on them and ruin and take away all their rights and freedoms. I don't think so. Bad times are coming. So be strong, protect yourself, give the love, and always be the love. You know, that power, that God power, come through you and deal with that. But you must be the force. You must be willing as a vehicle to play an active role in life. You can't just sit back and let life go around you. You must pay an active participation. The same as in your healing. You take yourself to Wellville. You make your bodies go to Wellville. Separate yourself from your bodies. And you'll enjoy the ride. And you can play and have fun in such a negative universe. But we can't let them take away the tools of health. We are health coaches. We're detoxification specialists. We don't have anything to do with diseases. We never will. Illusionary, but you get diagnosed and they put it into the mainstream, and there's a certain amount of that they can't do anything about because they've allowed this to become common used words. And there could be a lot of fraud involved in this whole thing. They're going to have to prove, because we're going down that side of it too. The tremendous fraud perpetrated on the American people and the world over. Some countries are a lot better, of course, with that than others, no question. This country, major fraud involved. Major stuff going on. With the vaccines and everything else, we have been duped. We've had medical doctors themselves have been lied to by CDC centers. This is a mess. And only God can straighten it out. So how does God get to a place like this, even though it's within its own body? You, me, everyone else that chooses to be a vehicle for the higher power, for the higher awareness of love and beauty and fun and joy. Not this negative, bad energy that's going around now. And the only way we can fight that is with love and joy, but we can also fight it with strength. You know, strength with truth and love with a little icing on the cake is always good. You know, you can always go after someone with love, but truth and honesty and integrity. And that's what we stand for. I do. I stand for truth, honesty, and integrity. And it's the only way you can run a world with so many inhabitants and developing their ability to love each other, because every other way doesn't work. And you can see this planet has yet to develop outside of its warring nature. And there's so many levels that are looking at this. So, love you all very much. And I don't just say that lightly. You're all very important to this whole understanding and upliftment of this planet and of the human race. Because the poor babies and the young guys are suffering so bad, some of them are just going off their rockers. You know, those of you that have taken Accutane, it's messed you up. And you know what? Join the lawsuits, because there's plenty of them out there. Accutane is a major bad drug. But they don't care. They made so much money. Why do they care? If they settle a class action, big deal. It is so bad that even that mentality is here. We have to deal with that kind of mentality. So this means you have to become awake and protect yourself at every move. From your own governments, from your medical doctors, from the understanding that you've been taught. There's a lot of things people have been taught on this planet is not true. And now you're seeing it historically. You're learning things now in history that was taught that's not true. So there's so much of this that's not true. Man just has to open up and find his joy and his happiness while you're on this rock spinning through space. But enjoy the diet. It doesn't matter if you have to have a green drink over a fruit. If the body is too toxic for fruits, then do your green drinks first and then move to your fruits. You know, be wise. Note that detoxification is an art. I don't live on solid principles. I'm very flexible, but within reason. There's reasons why I don't flex in areas that I've already been. I don't like walking down roads full of holes and trouble. So once I do, I learn I don't go down that road anymore. So then I try to pass that on to my friends. Because I've been down that road. Seems like a road that a lot of people have to go down. They always fall in the same holes. But that's life. That's life. Ever get a chance to watch The Circle of Iron by Bruce Lee? Watch that. That kind of consciousness is in there. So have a good night. I love you all. I'll try to Thursday pick back up on your Q&As and get on trying to catch up with you guys. You're a lot to catch up with. But don't hurt. Keep working yourself out of pain. Pain is acid, and get away from acid-forming foods, acid thinking, acid feeling. Open your heart. Love even if you're in pain. You have to power over some of these things once in a while until you can get your car halfway to Wellville. So my love to each and every one of you. Enjoy the evening if you get this in the evening, and enjoy the day if you get it in the morning. And happy holidays to each and every one of you. I have a feeling these are going to be big holidays because people are so depressed they have to have some outlet of happiness. So, till we meet again, shall we say? Love you all.